my grandma is a shaman. So dia ada macam-macam ilmu lah. Kalau nak dapat superpower tengok hantu ni, you have to ambil air yang orang mandikan jenazah tu and just tap the water
this is
into
the
your eyes.
first time I've heard this.
Kalau I keluar kan, I akan nampak macam something tau dekat corner of the house. Saya masuk toilet, I rasa macam ada orang party tau. Macam ada someone is like watching me. Keluar daripada toilet tu, I macam mintai dekat tu. I was like macam macam mana orang tu boleh panjat. And then I saw like that creature, macam benda hitam tu, they just like spread its wings like that and
What?
And we're back. Welcome to another episode of
Night Bulu Tales.
I'm Mo.
I am Firel. And here we are again.
We are here again.
Excited always to tell stories.
Yes, I think we want to welcome our new viewers.
Yes.
Thank you. Terima kasih.
We are at almost 2,600 subscribers.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
You guys have been awesome. Also in the comment section, we've been reading everybody's comments, and always trying to improve as well. Thank you for everybody's comments.
Yes, thank you for commenting. We will always take every comment in consideration.
And subbing, we take everything with whether it's negative or positive. For those who haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, because it will really help the channel.
Yeah.
We love growing with you guys, and we are excited to come up with a lot more stories for you guys in the near future.
Yeah, more guests,
and
just
creepy.
I think we've been excited lately. The past couple of weeks have been very exciting for all of us.
Yeah, especially since our audience has grown and been supportive.
So aside from subscribing, do not forget to also follow us on our socials.
Yeah.
Who do we got, Rel?
We have an old friend of mine who was married to my late friend.
Yes.
Before he passed away 10 years ago.
Yeah. Good man. Very good man.
Very good man. Very, very funny man. I've known him since since I was back in the States with him, and then met his wife. And today we have her wanting to share her creepy stories.
Yes.
And I'd like to introduce everybody to Tata, who is also a
author.
Hi, Tata.
Hi. So
thank you, Tata, for being here.
Yes.
Yep. You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself first before we get into the
creepy
so you're
thing.
creepiness. Yes.
So you're a penulis.
So I'm a penulis. So this is my book. So actually it's a trilogy memoir. Ada 3 buku kan.
Okay.
Buku 1, buku 2 and the buku 3.
Okay.
So the buku pertama is the first book. I name it Memoir 305 Satu Permulaan. That one is for the cerita dekat state lah. When I met him or something. And then this second book is basically cerita dekat Malaysia. So why I have this book today, because dalam buku ni banyak cerita hantu ya.
You hear that, guys?
So how this hantu thing intercept my I punya kehidupan lah. So that's why I ada tulis sikit pasal berkaitan dengan hantu lah dalam buku ni.
Interesting.
Okay.
And and I mean, I know you're excited to tell the story too, because you're like texting me, hey, jangan bagi tahu, I don't want to know yet.
I was like so excited to to share with you lah.
Did you know about our show, Firel? You saw Firel's post.
I saw your show before, but macam I never thought about it because I was like busy writing my books, right? So and then sampailah satu hari kan, and then I just
perfect.
Yeah, she just texted me. She's like, hey, what was the name of your show again? So I said it, and I said, hey, don't you have ghost stories too? She's like, ada
banyak.
So this is what I would say, ini semua hikmah.
Yeah, ini semua hikmah. So dalam buku ni it's like cerita dia collapse kan, which is like something yang ada pada I dengan something that someone else spell, magic spell.
Dia
macam two magics like combine, bukan combine, lawan battle. And my body is macam battlefield.
Wow.
So this is
wow.
everything.
That's all in here.
Yep.
So this is the second book.
Yeah, this is the second book.
All right. Well, we're excited to let to
Yeah.
have you start from wherever you'd like
where
to
do you want to
start.
start?
I mean, I'm ready to be scared.
Okay, for me, I want to start hantu itself lah. What
Okay.
you define as hantu kan. Of course
okay.
lah, you want to know kan. Because macam kita selalu, macam kita lalu dekat kubur, kita pergi somewhere, like pergi kat tempat yang macam creepy, rumah hantu, and then you rasa you nampak hantu kan. But orang yang nampak tu selalu macam cakap, macam mana rupa hantu tu. They will say, oh, I see like macam Pontianak, Kuntilanak, or things like that. But people like me yang nampak hantu ni, I nampak kalau I pergi kat kubur, I nampak hantu, I just, that's it lah. Because for me macam nothing.
Jo, you
It's like
relax
What
je.
is that like?
Jap.
So-
The way you realize the way she's saying it, relax je. You macam
It's like nothing. Because you pergi tempat dia,
Yeah.
of course you jumpa dia.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Betul.
Sama macam you pergi restoran, you masuk restoran, of course you
See waiters.
yeah, see the waiters, see the
Kubur,
food.
restaurant. Okay, alright.
things like
Okay,
that.
got it.
So for me, yang macam that type of hantu, I would say macam lebih kurang macam stray cat or dogs. Macam you nampak stray cats or
So they're like
Stray cats or dogs.
they're like macam wandering around.
Yeah, wandering around, just jalan-jalan, lepaking. Because our world dengan dia punya world is like overlap. So macam you tak boleh nak get rid of it, because mungkin ini your house, tapi dia pun ada mungkin dia punya highway, like something like that. So it's like intersect.
Did you know that you can see these things from like when did you know?
That was my next question. Sejak bila you had this power?
Okay, since when?
The gift.
The gift.
Okay, the gifted. I was like quite young that time, around like 8 years old. And then during cuti sekolah, kita selalu balik rumah kampung my grandma. So my grandma is a shaman. So dia ada macam-macam ilmu lah.
Right.
Tapi but to say that dia sebenarnya she's a Chinese being adopted by Dayak lah. And then that Dayak fathers the one that macam taught a lot of the things lah, yang ajar macam-macam kan. But then dia dah convert to Muslim lah, things like that. Tapi macam orang zaman dulu, kita tak boleh compare dengan our life sekarang lah. Because like macam kita we have classes, we go to school, things like that. So orang dulu dia tak pergi kelas. So
Dia tak ada kerja lah.
dia orang tak ada kerja lah kan. To say that macam bukan kata dia tak ada kerja,
Yeah,
because
it's just there's less things to do lah.
less things to do, and then they got the ladang, they got the rumah, so they get helps from other things lah. Okay.
Interesting.
And then bila balik cuti sekolah tu, I have like cousin, tapi cousin I ni semua macam gap umur kita, macam jarak terlalu jauh lah. So I macam yang paling youngest lah. So yang lain tu semua macam sekolah menengah, sekolah darjah pun mungkin darjah 6 macam tu kan, dia dah besar kan. So when they're talking about hantu, because they always like macam kata we are hunting for ghosts tonight, things like that. So dia macam tak nak bawa I. Dia kata, you are still young, we don't want to macam ajak you semua kan. And then I get pissed off. Okay, I get pissed off. So
left out.
Left out lah, because I tak boleh nak adventure ikut dia orang kan. And then happen to be satu hari ni kita pergi funeral one of the uncle yang pass away kan. And then my yang cousin yang paling tua tu, he's like crazy tu. And he said, jom kita tengok hantu. And then dia kata kalau nak dapat superpower tengok hantu ni, you have to ambil air yang orang mandikan jenazah tu, and just tap the water
This is
into
the
your
first
eyes.
time I've heard this.
So I don't know how it works ke apa kan. But that time I was like macam, of course lah kita pun macam masa tu I was like a kid kan, macam nak buat ke tak nak, because I tengok all this macam my cousin semua macam
You berapa umur?
masa tu 8 tahun. But I think I made a wish. I wish that I want to see this thing, because for me that I rasa macam I want to be macam, I pun nak macam dia orang, tapi I nak lagi power daripada dia orang, like macam something like that. So I wish I macam I macam doa, I nak nampak. Okay, but then I forgot about the thing lah. And then comes to my grandma dia biasalah she will do her things kan. Bila dia do her things tu, my mom selalu scold me. And then my mom said, jangan follow grandma.
Right.
Don't help her. You know, she know it but she don't like it.
Yeah,
she dia nak larang tapi macam she just bagi hint, tapi kita budak kan. Macam I sayang my grandma, dia pun suka kat I, so dia selalu tolong dia lah. And then sometimes bila macam I tolong my grandma buat benda kan, all this magic thing kan. So my grandma was like doing the thing kan, I was like macam dengar tak bunyi kat luar, you know, like macam I tegur lah, because sometimes I heard the noise, and then sometimes I nampak dia buat something, and then I heard like something macam scratching, things like that.
It's interesting. Biasa nenek ajar masak. This is masak lain lah. So this is your mom's mom.
Mom's mom. Okay. Because my grandma ada 3 orang anak, and then my mom is seorang je anak perempuan, and then I anak perempuan yang pertama. So you know right, dia punya.
But you're the youngest and you were the only.
No,
the youngest of the cousins.
Eldest of the anak perempuan dia lah.
Okay.
Masuk cucu perempuan yang kira bawah anak perempuan dia.
Right.
Okay, and then habis cerita dekat situ, I just tolong dia lah. I didn't tak tahu much lah kan. Sampai satu masa tu, when I macam time remaja tu, my grandmother gave me something. So she said, I give you something which I don't know what is it, tapi I simpan that benda. But bila I simpan that benda, all this macam suddenly all this creepy thing datang tau. For example, macam masa tu I don't know what's wrong with me. Malam-malam pukul 11 I bangun, I makan all the telur, you know, like macam I eat a lot, and then masa I mandi, I rasa macam ada someone with me or something like that. And until one time I find out that okay, something wrong kan. So I told my grandma, I kata I don't want this, the thing that you gave me, because I rasa macam something is not right. And then my mom marah masa tu tau.
Marah your grandma?
Marah my grandma lah. So my grandma was like quite sad lah.
Apa dia bagi?
Dia bagi macam, actually dia dapat dalam mimpi dia. Dalam mimpi dia, there's a lady datang rumah waktu malam, hantar macam satu batang kayu tau. So this kayu is like macam kayu buruk or something. But then she used that kayu and put inside the bottle and put some oil on top of it. I also don't know what it's all about lah. Okay, and then masa tu I dah pergi state, I further my study and everything. When I come back to Malaysia kan, I jumpa balik my grandma lah. Masa tu dia dah macam dah tua lah, dah berumur juga. I find out that macam dia, because macam dia rasa macam tak ada orang nak mewarisi that thing, so she have to bagi that thing kan. So she being close to my mum punya neighbour, jiran sebelah. So this jiran sebelah dah salin all the thing kan, macam satu buku tau.
Wow.
I don't know what she want to do with it lah. So
she actually accepted it.
Yeah, she accepted lah. It means that she pass it to someone else lah kan. And then masa my grandma pass away, I mean like macam it's quite peaceful lah. Dia meninggal masa bulan Ramadan, and then hari Jumaat. So it's like a good sign lah, means that she's being blessed lah. Because I know inside of her, because she always telling me kan, dia kata she want to go to Islam, you know, like dia nak do this kind of thing. Just that macam, you know, like macam lahir tahun dia tak pergi sekolah, things like that kan, because of the, you know, family kind of thing. So just kita tak nak cakap banyak lah kan. But after that, soon after, macam few months after she passed away, mula-mula my cousin, dia kata dalam toilet dia tengah mandi, and then tiba-tiba ada satu rambut ni macam depan dia punya kepala macam tu, and then she was like screaming lah kan. Dia kata macam mana datang benda ni kan. And then dia kena kacau, dia ada cousin also kena kacau, and myself also kena kacau. That time I was like staying dekat Sunway. I don't want to name the place lah kan. I selalu macam bila I keluar bilik tidur, kalau I keluar kan, I akan nampak macam something tau dekat corner of the house. It's like macam benda yang besar, berbulu-bulu, you know, like macam I was like tapi bila macam kita tengok tak ada kan. And then macam tiap-tiap hari tau I diganggu oleh this thing which I don't know kan. And then satu hari tu, masa tu maghrib, I nak mandi. Masa I masuk toilet, I rasa macam ada orang perhati tau. Macam ada someone is like watching me. So I was like thinking macam ini mesti orang contractor or something yang panjat-panjat or whatsoever kan. I was like fikir macam tu lah. Of course kita ingat human kan. So bila I keluar daripada toilet tu, I macam mintai dekat tu. I was like macam macam mana orang tu boleh panjat. And then I saw like that creature, macam benda hitam tu, they just like spread its wings like that and
what?
Flew away like that.
You saw?
I saw the thing. That was like macam
How old were you this time in college?
No,
Sunway you were already,
I think 20.
working already?
Yeah, 25.
25. Oh.
spread its wings.
It's spread its wings like,
and then
just
flew
away. I was like macam okay.
What is that? I've never heard that before.
it's like a
Bukan
black,
Black
angel.
bukan. It's like it's like black thing.
So there was like you tak nampak dia punya features ke apa? It's just black shadow.
Yeah, it's like a black shadow. And then starting from that kan, itu yang I sambung cerita dalam buku ni, I always nampak benda hitam.
Right.
Benda hitam yang macam you tak kata dia human, you tak kata dia binatang tau. So macam kalau you tanya I hantu tu how it looks kan, it's like macam kepulan asap. It's like kepulan asap. And then sometimes the asap can be tebal, sometimes it can be macam tak tebal. And then sometimes dia boleh jadi besar, sometimes can become kecil. So that one is how sepatutnya benda tu nampak macam tu lah. But if someone said dia nampak macam this and that might be macam benda yang dia nampak tapi campur dengan dia punya imagination. That's what dia tengok macam tu lah. Because if you ask me kalau you pergi, katalah you been in the state, you nampak hantu apa kat situ?
Dracula.
Kan, right? I would say but actually dia memang sebab jin ni dia terdiri daripada dua unsur lah. Satu tu unsur api, second ni of course angin lah, which is the asap lah, that kind of thing kan. So that's how it looks lah.
So you think it is a jin?
It's a jin lah. That's how it looks. So dia macam kepulan makhluk hitam, you nampak macam kelibat hitam. You nak kata manusia tidak, you nak kata binatang tidak, but it's like sometimes it moving and then sometimes it's turn in the shape kan. Dia boleh tukar-tukar dia punya shape tu. Sometimes it's go big and then sometimes it's go small.
Depends on his mood.
So and then when I macam find out that macam I selalu kena kacau benda ni, of course I want to find a solution lah. But what is the solution, I tak nak cerita kat sini because it in here kan. But what I want to tell you that macam yang lepas I find out the solution, of course I need some explanation from the expert. So according to the expert, macam kita tengok ayat Al-Fatihah ada 7. Okay. Bumi lapisan pun 7. So this thing ada 7 level. Okay. The level that macam orang biasa, macam I nak cakap tadi lah, you pergi dekat kubur, you nampak that one is level 1. Misalnya is merayau-rayau, jalan-jalan. So macam dia macam lebih kurang macam kita assume macam kita nampak stray cat or stray dog. Sebab dia tak ada tuan. So dia just merayau-rayau kan.
Ni bangsa mana-mana kubur lah.
It can be everywhere. For example like macam kalau you pergi dekat parking space kan, dekat shopping mall kan. Malam-malam kan you just nampak kelibat jalan-jalan. So means that itu memang tempat dia kan. So memang dia berkeliaran dekat situ lah. Sama macam kita nampak cat dengan dogs kan. Dia berkeliaran.
It's so interesting that they're walking around. Because I thought yang jenazah, yang mayat-mayat tu, they're just in the kubur waiting kan.
Cerita mayat-mayat kubur-kubur is different thing. Okay. That one is like jasad. But I'm talking about jin.
So jin is walking around.
Yeah, it's walking around. Sebab macam
that's a big difference.
Kita punya living kan. For example like every day I go to work, you wake up and go for breakfast, go to the gym, things like that. So diorang pun ada activity diorang juga. Because our world dengan world dia overlap. So that's why macam bila you jalan tu, sometimes you pergi tempat yang sunyi sikit, you ada nampak macam lintasan kan. Orang katakan benda melintas kan. So selalu benda macam tu is that because you pergi tempat dia ataupun your world ada intercept dengan dia kan. So that's what you nampak lah. Tapi kalau you tak pergi tempat macam tu and then tak ada nampak dia lalu, and it's okay lah kan. That one is like macam level 1 because it macam kita tengok orang awam lah. Things like that. So go to level 2. So level 2 ni jin yang cari tuan. So means that they looking for master. Macam kucing lah, dia nak you jadi tuan dia. Every day dia datang jumpa you, every day dia visit you because dia kata I want this, so I want this person, things like that. Okay, either you know or you don't know. Ini yang jadi dekat I, yang I cerita tadi. Because it coming from my macam orang kata they call it saka lah kan. Selalu orang pakai saka kan. So kita tak tahu which keturunan is that kan. Dia macam orang kata because last time kita punya nenek-nenek moyang, so we don't know. Because macam I definitely my apa orang kata, sebab I bukannya Melayu, kira macam 100% Malay kan, and 100% ni kan, sebab my family pun banyak campur-campur. So we also don't know, pass from generation to generation kan. They're looking for master. So that's what they looking for you lah. Either you sedar atau tak sedar, they will make you notice that they are exist. So that's what macam kalau orang tu selalu sangat kena kacau, and then dia macam hati tak tenang, things like that, there must be something yang dia kena tengok lah. Sebab macam kalau you pergi dekat kubur, you balik rumah dah tak ada. Tapi kalau you duduk kat rumah, benda tu ada kat rumah you, means that something else lah. Sama ada benda tu belongs to you or belongs to your, you know, your punya family ke apa ke kan.
So that happened to you. Something came
to me, and then want me to jadi dia punya master lah, macam tu. So I cerita dalam ni macam mana I get rid of it, you know, how I get rid of it. So
there are jinns who are in service.
Yep, in service
for human.
Yep, human. Because kalau you tengok ayat Al-Fatihah ayat 6 dengan 7 tunjukkan kami jalan yang lurus. Because we are asking dekat Allah, kita nak kita di apa, path yang lurus kan. But this thing akan cuba untuk sesatkan you. So that's what they are exist, because they want to make you turn somewhere kan. Dia nak sesatkan you kan, make you believe in them. Because they ada superpower dia. So that's what they want you to believe in them, because they nak menyesatkan. So ada orang yang tak tahu ada nak bertuan tu, the one we call level 2 lah, because dia dekat rumah dia selalu kena kacau, dia masuk toilet, dia see things, and then goes to level 3. Level 3 means that you accept accept it. You dah macam dah nak buddy dengan dia lah, means that you tag team lah kan. I would say you tag team lah kan. But some people do kan. We don't blame them, because some people do, and then sometimes they do it because of the family lah kan. Kita pun tak nak cakap lah kan. And then bila dia accept tu, the problem when you accept, bukan you seorang accept tau, the whole of your keturunan will have to accept dia punya keturunan. Because it will be like dia akan membentuk kerajaan. Dia akan membentukkan kerajaan. And then it goes to level 4. Level 4 means that macam you boleh nampak dua alam. So pernah tak macam ada kawan yang macam kata kaki kena gigit lah, ada lebam kan, ataupun macam badan dia ada lebam-lebam. And then sometimes kawan ni kata dia malam dia selalu mimpi dia come to like satu kampung ke apa ke, jumpa orang ke kan. Means that dia duduk dalam dua alam tau. So dunia is satu, and then alam yang benda tu satu. Sometimes dia tak tahu, tapi dia dah dilorongkan ke, you know, because they want to carry you to the wrong path lah, macam I cerita tadi. And then yang paling menakutkan is the level 5.
That's paling menakutkan. You still have 6 and 7, right?
Yep, I still have 6 and 7. So the level 5 is that macam okay, dia tahu dia ada benda, so they want to put it dekat orang lain, nak kenakan orang lain. Faham tak? Macam dia suruh hantu dia macam kacau orang.
Yeah, so it's using
to do its bidding lah.
Okay. Dia macam okay, I want you to disrupt this people life, you know. Destroy these people lives, things like that. And then yang 6 tu dia dah macam ada ilmu-ilmu dia lah, yang macam dia macam franchise lah, I would say. So means that after they put into you, lepas tu dia nak macam ada kerajaan dia lagi dekat dalam you tu, and then they can control everything about you.
A ghost parliament.
Yep. And then yang paling jahat sekali yang level 7 tu dah macam bukan macam orang lah, dah bukan macam manusia lah dia punya perangai. Memang
Siapa yang perangai? The jin or the person itself, the owner?
I mean like the owner dah
Tuan
macam selalunya kalau level 7 ni kita pun tak boleh nak selamatkan dia dah. Kalau dia pergi berubat pun, even the ustaz or apa orang yang buat perubatan tu cannot help them much already, sebab dia dah macam dia dah jadi orang lain dah.
Too late
because the thing dah control dia. For example I would say macam contoh katalah hari ni you nak pergi kerja okay, from your house you start your car engine and everything, and then you listen to song, you drive kereta you, suddenly macam I dah sampai office, walaupun you tak perhati dia jalan, but it's your unconscious mind kan. Same thing dengan sini jugalah. So maksudnya benda tu dah control you, yang macam you are no longer you.
You don't and then you tak realize the stages that you go through kan. Sebab tiba-tiba you went from I'm okay to suddenly you're gone.
I think you do enough of level 6, you get to 7. So ni apa yang beza kena rasuk and kena control?
Kena rasuk dan control. So kalau macam psikologi kan, kalau kita tengok macam orang ada schizophrenia, things like that, sometimes this can relate to this thing.
Okay.
So macam kena rasuk ni normally ada satu cerita tu I nak cerita pasal kena rasuk later.
Okay.
After this kan, I'll tell the story. So macam kena rasuk ni kena rasuk ni either dia tahu atau tak tahu, atau it can be tapi benda tu memang ada something that dia tuntut daripada orang tu, yang orang tu tak fulfill. For example like macam contoh dulu grandfather dia mungkin ada perjanjian dengan benda tu. So means that you have to feed them, you have to do this, you have to do that, you do apa, macam adalah dia punya mantra or something kan. But then maybe yang the grandfather tu dah pass away, so the apa orang kata yang anak-anak dia, keturunan dia, cucu cicit dia tidak tahu. So dia sama macam anjing lah, kalau you tak bagi dia makan, they will bite you back right. Same thing with this thing. So that's what dia macam kacau, ganggu all your cucu cicit. And then you rasa macam benda tu hysteria, you rasa macam benda tu coming from the place that you pergi. Tapi sebenarnya sometimes you have to check your own family trail lah. I would say, I advise lah.
This is a really good explanation of
yeah.
You know what some of you might be going through. You know, it's
a very good linear, clear explanation of how things can happen, or the stages of it, you know.
Stages, definitely.
Okay.
Yang keturunan stuff that's kesian.
Because we also don't know kan before this.
So all that story about your battle with this jinn is in this book.
In this book.
So the people out there need to read this book to find out.
Book to find out and how kita nak macam nak solve that problem.
Right.
You should ask for help. Bila you ask for help, jangan tunggu lama-lama tau. Because makin lama you tunggu, it will try to collapse you.
It feeds on you more kan. It's like when we watch like like possession movies, right? And how they go from those stages to the end. But you will tell us like we don't have to read the book, right?
I think the asking for help is what we wanna tell our audience. Like, a lot of them commented and they have gone through so much. One comment from IG I shared with the boys, and it was heartbreaking. You know what she was going through. Sometimes her son is going through it too. The help you're talking about is not just like cari bomo or ustaz. Because sometimes dalam hidup kan kita, macam dalam buku ni I cerita my mistake and also what is wrong and what is right. Because I'm so naive at that time. I pun tak percaya benda ni. And then my friend kata, you got to believe this kan. Orang nak tolong, tapi orang nak tolong tu pun tak tahu jalan juga. So macam mana dia nak tolong kita? So I've done the mistake lah. Bila mistake tu dia lagi teruk, it become like lagi teruk, and then what is the right thing to, apa orang kata, cari tempat yang betul lah kalau you nak minta tolong kan. Jangan get to the wrong person, sebab bomoh ni ada banyak. Kalau ustaz ni pun ada banyak juga. Ada juga ustaz tak betul. Ustaz kan.
Actually that's true, because our previous guest 2 episodes ago, Zulin, dia pun mention macam tu. Jangan percaya semua ustaz ke apa, because sometimes it's just all bullshit.
Because my advice is to tell both of you and also the audience kan, tengok cara dia punya perubatan tu. Okay, selalunya kalau betul-betul perubatan, you will nampak normal barangnya yang dia gunakan. Dia akan guna air, limau and also garam, districting. Benda ni normal. Tapi kalau dia guna benda lain macam kemenyan and then ada asap-asap.
What's kemenyan again?
Kemenyan is like yang
Oil.
it's not coil. I think macam dia macam getah buah or something.
Oh, okay.
Tapi dia ada wangian tau.
Oh,
and then
right.
bila you bakar,
Okay.
it's not burn, but dia macam buat macam kepulan asap.
Okay,
So it's like wangi-wangi kind of thing kan. Macam benda tu is like sebenarnya creepy sebenarnya. And then macam tengok orang ubat tu, kalau dia kata macam bawa benda pelik-pelik lah, sometimes dia kata pergi kubur, ambil tanah, bawa jumpa dia, things like that. So it can happen. Tapi kalau you dah rasa macam insting you rasa tak betul, jangan.
Memang tak betul.
Memang tak betul. Because kalau macam ikut perubatan Islam air, limau, garam. You know why? These three element.
Why?
And then kita is made from tanah kan. Kita made tanah kan. You ada tanah, api, air, the other one angin. 4 things kan. So this 4 thing manusia ada 4 kan unsur. The jin is like ada 2 unsur. Satu unsur like I said just now, api. And then also asap lah, angin lah kan. Okay. So you have this 3 things. Satu air dalam Islam memang untuk menyucikan. You want to do cleansing kan. You want to get rid of dirty thing kan. You need to clean up lah. Lepas tu kita pakai limau. Limau ni dia ada bauan. So limau is one of the bau dekat syurga, which jin or setan don't like the smell of the lemons.
Wow.
This is why I always order limau ice. Oh sure, now I know why.
No more teh ice for me.
Why I always do limau ice.
Wow, that's really interesting. This is the first time I've ever heard that.
So limau, bila you cut the limau kan, it give you some smell kan. Some smell. So smell tu is like dia dah jadi udara kan. Because you want to kepung all of this kata jin ni kan. You ada air, you ada limau, and then garam. You know why garam? Garam kasar kan. Yang the one bukan yang proses, but
thick,
the very thick one kan. The very thick and tebal one.
Like sea salt kind of.
You know why?
Why?
Don't know. Okay. Kan ada cerita Nabi Musa and Fir'aun. Macam mana Nabi Musa kalahkan Fir'aun dekat Laut Merah. Dia terbelahkan laut tu. And then you know like Fir'aun dengan dia punya pengikut ada banyak ilmu sihir kan, nak lawan dengan Nabi Musa kan. So Nabi Musa was like ketuk dia punya tongkat, and then they just escape dekat belahan laut tu. And then orang Fir'aun tenggelam dalam tu. That's how dia matikan dia sihir. So that's why you nak ambil garam tu, sebab you nak ambil garam tu untuk mematikan sihir.
The salt from the sea.
The sihir nak bunuhkan jin tu. That's what bila berubat tu, kalau orang tu guna garam, limau dengan air, then it should be fine lah.
That is so interesting.
Supernatural lah. The word is rocks. Rock salt.
Yeah. Wow, that is very educational.
Very educational, right? Yeah.
Limau ice. It's very important. Penting tu.
Okay.
So jin dan syaitan tak suka
bau limau. Yep.
You know when you said bila you cakap apa ni, the limau tu dia boleh bau dia macam dalam sugar.
Yep.
Man, that actually made me when you said that, I like smelled the limau. You know, I could smell the limau. It was such a
it has a different meaning to us now.
Yeah, it has a much different meaning. I don't know. Yeah, what do you guys? Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. This is more like a light, you know.
No, but I like this. That's
very educational and very intriguing.
Which not many people know.
Yep.
I would say you don't teach this in sekolah agama. You know what I mean?
Yep.
No one teaches this. So agama is just to read jawi.
Read jawi, semayang. That's it.
Because I have been through banyak sangat cerita, banyak sangat kena kacau dengan hantu kan. That's why macam you nak lawan dia, you have to be macam kena ada ilmu lah. So that's why I macam kata ambil masa tu, I banyak belajar benda. So I learn a lot in order for you to macam kata be shield untuk you sendiri lah. Protect yourself lah.
Does it work if you also have like macam your semangat is very strong?
What? Yep.
Is that enough? Yeah.
To be brave.
You know?
Not that enough. Not that enough. Because kalau kita tengok manusia ni pun macam educational juga. Okay, macam manusia kan, kita ada banyak lubang lah. I would say you have your nose, you have your ears and everything. Setan ni atau iblis ni, dia akan masuk guna lubang mana? So of course the down under lah. The down under lah kan. I would say the down under lah. Okay, the down under. So dia start masuk daripada the down under. If you like macam jaga your solat, you ada wudu and things like that, it's kind of like a bit difficult.
Right.
Because this is what we call pengisian. Dia macam contoh macam komputer lah. You have your antivirus, you know, kind of thing. So kalau you tak ada antivirus, so the virus will easily attack you kan. So dia akan masuk daripada lubang yang paling kotor lah, I would say kan.
Jubor.
I would say. Sebab kalau you tengok kebanyakan macam tempat orang puja-puja atau rumah setan ni, dia bentuk segitiga. Why is it triangle? Why? Macam everything orang puja-puja setan kan mesti dia segitiga, triangle. Why three triangle? You don't know. Okay. Because in our body ada satu tulang dekat you punya dekat dengan you punya bawah tu yang berbentuk segitiga.
Oh, at our, what do you call it?
Tulang mana? Kat mana?
Tulang kat, it's like between the pelvis, right? Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
Both laki dan perempuan ada.
Tailbone. Is it your tailbone?
It's not like tailbone. Dia bawah tailbone tu. Dia dekat macam this is your pelvis, right? Your left and your right leg kan. Dia dekat tengah-tengah ni.
Right.
So dia then your tulang belakang kan, your punya ekor kan. So this is the first place that the setan will enter in your body.
Wow.
Kalau you macam, you know, like you go to the toilet, you tak fully wash your body, you tak get clean, so you know what I mean. So that's why you always get clean. And then not only to get clean, tapi like I said just now, you nak protect diri, you have to have pengisian lah. Maksudnya macam you
find your antivirus.
Find your antivirus lah.
Immune system needs to be strong.
Wow.
So it will enter sama juga 7 level. First level dekat bawah ni. Second, kalau perempuan rahim lah. That's what some of our friends dia macam cannot get pregnancy.
Faham.
And then always macam ada tak dengar cerita yang gaib dalam rahim. And then kalau males pula dia ada having like problem kan dekat dia punya abdomens, right? And then it goes to your tummy. And then orang tu macam akan rasa sakit perut lah, things like that lah. And then it goes to your chest. Bila chest ni you dah rasa macam sometimes your dada berombak. And then you macam
tak nafas.
Tak tarik nafas. And then you rasa macam sesak, you rasa hidup you semak, you know, like all kind of this thing. And then lepas tu dia akan pergi dekat leher ni 5. And then level 6. And then level 7 it's over you already. So you dah tenggelam lah.
I want to portray that in our horror film, right? Like all the films we've seen, yang kalau kena rasuk, they come through they go through your mouth lah, you know, your face, your body, but never this pelvic area, which is interesting to see visually.
Because memang ada rumah dia dekat dalam setiap manusia kan, dia segitiga tu. That's why you have to protect this.
That's good. It's so interesting.
Sebab tu macam kalau you tengok mana-mana je kan, kalau you tengok the all mantras kan, you will see this triangle punya symbol,
right?
Untuk all the puja-puja kind of thing.
Wow.
Okay, Aiman, you gotta find an X-ray, and then let's find the triangle on the pelvic. I really have to. This is very interesting.
Wow. Okay. So
I want to hear your experiences.
My experience.
Your other experience.
Your personal experience.
Personal experience. Okay. So after macam ada satu cerita dalam ni kan, I did mention that I realised that mata I boleh nampak. And then the abang that ubat I, dia bagi tahu use it for a good reason. Means that help others that tak boleh nampak lah. So I kena tolong lah orang yang tak nampak kan.
Jadi ghost whisperer.
Jadi ghost whisperer. And then ada satu pengalaman ni, I would say pengalaman lah. I ada seorang kawan, dia duduk rumah 3 orang. Okay, Intan, Eki and Darling. So happen to be Darling ni she passed away lah. She passed away that time. So Intan was like calling me and said, kita orang macam tengah sedih sekarang, and why not you just stay with us, make us comfort. Dia kata macam, yelah orang tengah bersedih kan. So dia pun ajak lah I duduk rumah dia. So I move to their place lah. So sekarang ni ada 3 orang lah. So Intan, Eki dengan myself. So rumah dia I don't want to mention dekat mana. Okay, kalau you masuk rumah dia, dia ada macam grill. Lepas tu macam jalan ke depan sikit ada pintu and main door, and then sebelah main door tu, sebelah kanan main door tu ada satu bilik. Sebelah bilik tu ada tangga. That apartment is like 2 tingkat punya apartment. So dekat bawah tu living room, dekat atas bilik Intan, and then bilik Eki, and then there's one bilik kosong, the guest room. So they asked me to stay there lah. Okay, malam yang pertama I duduk dengan diorang, kita buat macam tahlil lah. Like it's like a mini tahlil lah. Okay, and then panggil some ustaz, baca. So nothing happened that night. And then the second night, I was like macam, you guys, jomlah kita just do some prayer lah for your friend yang baru pass away ni kan. And then this 2 girl pun cakap, tak nak buat lah. Of course dia cakap dia on period lah, apalah, dia just give excuses lah. So I just perform the solat myself, and then after habis semayang isyak tu, I was perform the solat dalam bilik yang tadi tu lah. I will say bilik nombor 3 lah. Bilik ni dia toilet dengan bilik Eki sambung. Okay. So I was like tengah semayang, tapi kedudukan kiblat tu macam dia mengarah ke arah pintu toilet, dan sini is pintu masuk bilik tu lah. So belakang ni kira dinding dengan katil lah kan. So masa saya tengah baca surah Yasin tu, tiba-tiba I dengar macam someone is like breathing belakang I. So macam, and then I rasa macam that thing is like getting closer. Suddenly masa kita tengah baca, tengah peak tu kan, kita tengah baca tu, suddenly this thing dia macam dia bernafas dekat telinga I. It was like macam, I was like macam to continue reading or to stop kan. I continue baca, walaupun masa tu macam memang I was like macam takut lah kan. Lepas tu tiba-tiba benda tu macam screaming dekat I punya telinga, and then I saw like satu benda hitam quite big, tiba-tiba dia masuk dalam pintu toilet tu. I was like macam dari mana benda ni datang kan. I tengok dekat belakang, tingkap was like tutup, and then nobody was in the room. And then I tanya Intan dengan Eki, because dia orang tengah lepak dekat living hall tau. I cakap, I saw something just now, ada orang naik bilik I ke atas kan? Dia kata tak ada. Okay, fine. And then malam tu diorang hoha-hoha lepak dekat living hall. I tidur lah. So about like macam dalam pukul 3 pagi macam tu. Eki kan dia bilik depan I kan. Suddenly Eki datang kat bilik I. She woke me up. Tata woke up. I think I saw something dekat tangga. And then 2 of us bangun. Keluar daripada bilik I ni, nampak dekat tangga ni, I saw like one big creature. Very very big creature. Lepas tu this creature macam facing the wall tau. Macam you nampak tangga kan, benda ni macam dia tengok ke bawah, but we are behind the creature. I was like macam, benda ni, is this the thing that I nampak tadi kan? I pun macam, okay tak, it's okay, kita tunggu pagi besok cerita lah, don't want to cakap malam-malam kan. So Eki was like sleeping next to you in the room lah, sama dengan I lah, sebab dia takut kan. Okay, pagi tu bangun tidur pagi tu, Eki bagi tahu kat I, dia mimpi arwah Darling. So dia kata, first I tak kenal, I nampak ada perempuan datang rumah, ketuk pintu, and then bila nampak muka dia semua macam like ulat-ulat, it's like macam very scary. And then dia kata macam bila dia keluar suara tu, I know it's Darling. So Darling macam bagi tahu macam, please help me. Please help me. I nampak that creature dalam bilik tu. It's like very big. Lepas tu mata dia merah, dia nampak I. Dia tengok I nak masuk rumah tu. Suddenly masa kakak tu tengah buat bacaan, tiba-tiba I dengar macam bunyi kuku tajam And then I told Intan, I said, why not you open the door? Because I think that creature want to get out from the room. Kakak tu was like paku tangan dia dekat meja. Dato' Jo tu tangan dia, paku tangan dia, paku kaki dia. And then kakak tu kata, kita pause kejap I nak solat maghrib. 3 of you jaga Dr. Jo. Tiba-tiba ada seorang perempuan pakai baju putih juga. She tolak the little girl dekat buai tu. Lepas tu perempuan yang tolak tu macam kakak yang tengah ubat. So means that something wrong with the kakak tu pun tak betul.
Oh my
God.
Sikit, the car was like
Sure. Did you hear that?
Yeah, you hear that?
I heard 3 times.
What was it?
It sounded like a scream to me. You hear anything?
Like a gate.
Yeah.
But
Like a what?
gate. Sounded like a gate.
Gate?
Yeah, but
That's not a gate.
Hold on.
Eh,
let's take off your headphones.